Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our CMAP production of Ask the Mayor. We are always delighted to be here with you when our very own Gilroy Mayor, Don Gage, agrees to come and talk to us, and he's been very generous with his time to CMAP and talking about some of the issues that we know people are interested in. So we say to Mayor Gage, welcome back, Mayor. Very glad to have you here again this month for our Ask the Mayor. We have the same format as always, the 3 segments, and the first segment we deal with is about the City Council agenda, what's on it, what's going on, what are the current things that the council is looking at. So the first question that comes up for us, Dawn, is the Paseo project that's been on the agenda and been looked at, and progress is being made. Tell us where the downtown Paseo project is nowadays.
We will be opening in very early July. It won't be a complete opening. We're laying a pathway through the center from the back parking lot on Eagleberry so that handicapped people can get through. We're going to do lighting. We're going to do all the landscaping, piping for the landscaping, not necessarily the landscaping, and all the electrical. And that way it gets open. We have a committee established which is going to do all the murals on the history of Gilroy, farming, when the city started, and so forth, and they're going to be doing fundraising to do that. So that's where we stand right now. We're expecting probably in the first week of July to allow that to be open, and then as they finish the murals and everything else and put the pavers down, it'll expand it out. There'll be cameras in there and good lighting so people can use it all times of the day or night. So that's basically where we are. The committee has been working really hard to figure out what we're going to put on the walls of the two, on the north and south wall, to kind of tell people, you know, the history of Gilroy. So that'll come later, but it'll be usable first week in July.
First week in July then, so people can start more comfortably parking behind there, like in the Eagleberry parking lot, and then just walking through anytime,
Yes,
day or night.
that's
So
correct.
there aren't really doors to open, but
No, there's 2 walls, open ceiling, open air to the top, and no gates, so it won't be locked. It'll be open 24 hours a day. That's basically why we're going to put the cameras in there.
the cameras and the lighting then,
The lighting,
right?
so people can get through safely. Yeah.
And then just one quick question then, just an add-on, and that is the murals and things. Does that really deter and keep away any kind of graffiti or markings that might happen on?
They'll all be covered with a non-graffiti type of finish, so that if somebody does try to paint them, it'll be easily washed off.
Okay, very good.
And there'll be panels there in some places. Some will be on the wall, some will be panels, so we could actually change things so that we don't always have the same type of thing in there.
All right, well, let's go on to another topic from the agenda, and that is UNFI. What the heck is UNFI, and what is 850,000 square feet of warehouse?
UNFI is United Natural Foods Incorporated, and they're a large corporation. They're based in Rhode Island, and they transport organic product, and they're the largest in the United States for doing that. And they are going to be building 805,000 square feet of warehouse space. The first phase is 400,000 square feet. They will eventually probably have 450 to 500 new employees with good paying jobs there. And they are very anxious to get started. The staff has been working with them continuously to make sure that they got through the process, because it's a big economic situation for Gilroy. They're coming here because we basically are a destination city, and they have access to the whole Bay Area through here. So for them it's a positive, and for us it's a positive, especially the good paying jobs, because that's something that we've done for a long time.
Well, so what kinds of jobs will there be then?
There'll be administrative jobs. There will be forklift, trucking type jobs. Some will require training, some won't. But they'll be in the $40,000 to $50,000 range, which is, more than most retail pays in today's environment. And I think that's something that we've been looking forward for a long time. And they're like an anchor. Once they come in, other distribution centers will start to build. Just like when Costco came, you ended up seeing Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot, all these other companies focus around that. And we've been talking for years about being a destination city, and it's finally starting to come to fruition at this point in time because it's easy access. I mean, they're 45 minutes from Monterey, 45 minutes from the Valley. You can go to San Francisco. It's a little less than an hour, a little more than an hour. So they can basically get anywhere. Santa Cruz, 45 minutes, so they can distribute their products without having to truck them across the United States. They have plants in about 6 different cities or states, and they just ship organic products. They'll be fresh, they'll be frozen, they'll be dehydrated.
Okay, and do you think we have a workforce ready for that, or will new people be moving here and things then?
We have a workforce that can do those jobs with a small amount of training. We're going to be working with Gavilan College for any specifics. For example, when you have 400 or 500 people working, you have to train them how to drive forklifts and things like that. It's very cost effective to do it through a class where you can do multiple people without having to try to train on the job.
Right.
There's safety requirements, OSHA requirements, administrative. They have to get used to the accounting system and how they bill and do the various things there. So we're looking forward to those higher paying jobs here.
How many, did you put a number on that? How many do you think there'll be? Is it?
Probably 450 to 500
Oh, very
when it's
nice.
fully built out.
Yeah.
About 250 in the first phase.
Mm-hmm.
Because they'll need people to stock, do all those kinds of things, set up the staging area, set up the racks where the stuff is stored, the stuff that's in the freezers, they'll have to work that. So, but they're anxious to get started. They want to be putting sticks in the ground by August of this year, hoping that the first phase will be completed by August of next year, and then they'll start on the second phase.
Okay. Well, great. That is very good news for the city of Gilroy then. All right, that does finish up our segment 1, our first segment on catching up with the agenda, the council agenda. We're going to see a couple of messages right now, and then we're going to come back and do our second segment on medical marijuana. We're going to talk about that a little bit today with the mayor.
Did you want to do the
stay
sewer
tuned.
plant? There was a question on the sewer plant.
Oh, you're right.
I didn't want to say it in the middle.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's
You know what? Let's go back to that before we take our break. We are going to go back to that. Thanks for catching me up on that.
Well, I didn't want to interrupt
you got
in the
all
middle of your
prepared.
stride.
Sure. Well, yeah. That was, we want to update on the joint powers agreement with Morgan Hill on the sewer issues. Apparently there's things that are coming up again with that now, and they need to be addressed.
That's correct. There's
Okay.
several things that are coming up. One being in the future planning for additional growth, which means the expansion of the plant. But basically we got into this agreement with Morgan Hill simply because economic matters show that if you can do a joint plant, you can save money. But secondly, and even more important from an environmental point of view, we're downhill from Morgan Hill, and the way they treat water today in most cases is put it in the ground and let it percolate down. So now you get these impurities, and since everything flows south from Morgan Hill, we felt more comfortable in Gilroy in doing that. So we jointly manage it. It's a tertiary plant, which means it meets Title 22, California Code Title 22 water, which is safe to drink. It's cleaner than surface water. And the partnership has been great. We also partner with the Santa Clara Valley Water District. They've spent millions of dollars putting in what we call purple pipe, and this is the pipe that carries the tertiary water to be used by farmers, to be used by businesses, used for landscaping. If you see a lot of these big businesses, they have coolers. Well, rather than wasting what we call potable water, even though this is very, very clean, it's cheaper to use that. So they're installing the pipe so that we can get it around the community for people to use. And that's another very important thing that we have. We are the largest in the county of Santa Clara, largest plant that we use 25% of the water that comes back to us, we process, which is the largest per capita for a city of our size in the county. And our partnership with the water district has worked out great. They basically manage. We're also installing a new sewer trunk from Morgan Hill because the one that was there was extremely old. It was taking water in the heavy rains and leaking water, and we don't want that because that water all flows south and gets into our current system. So it serves a very significant environmental purpose.
So the work then that's being done and being addressed at council level is just updating. We've had this agreement for a long time. It's now updating some of the capital improvements, the equipment in there,
That's
and the
correct.
pipeline
That's correct.
things.
Doing
Okay.
the pipeline from Morgan Hill, that's their responsibility down to Gilroy. Purple Pipe is part of the plant because the water is sold at a lesser rate than you can pump out of a well with electrical costs and so forth. And it's worked out very well. The people that serve on that, I'm one of the ones that serves, but there's 3 people from the Gilroy City Council and 2 from Morgan Hill. We have about 58% of the plant because our population is larger, and the other 42% is Morgan Hill. So we work together and have been working together very well, and we look at everything. We had to replace some old generators and things like that. So we go through the budget cycle and talk about all those things and get reports once a month.
Yeah. Okay, great. So not a new agreement, the JPA, not something you're fashioning now, but it does keep updated and maintenance as we go along with that then.
Yeah, one of the things
Okay.
I wanted to mention on
Sure.
UNFI is people
Sure.
were asking where it's located.
Oh, right.
And it's located off of 152 on Arroyo Circle in the McCarthy property there.
Right.
So that's being expanded now, which is south of Highway 152 and near the regional commercial center there. And there's still a lot of land available out there for other businesses to come in and do that. There'll be street and road upgrades when they build to handle the truck traffic that comes through there, because they'll be shipping a lot of their product out of there. So they're doing very well at this point in time.
Now, again, that UNFI, that is mostly by truck then. There isn't a rail connection there, or is there at that?
No, it'll come in by truck.
Yeah,
and
okay.
And they want to, and the other thing they want to do is use local product, which is something we've been trying to do for many years, but a lot of the bigger grocery stores, Raley's and Walmart, have their own distributors that they buy
right.
from. So when our products are ready, farmers' products are ready, they will start using those. So they are going to expand on those because we grow a lot of quality corn and bell peppers and cucumbers and all the things that go along with that, mushrooms, and we'll be using local product instead of going to the store and buying an ear of corn that came from Illinois or someplace in the Midwest.
Yeah, great. Okay, and 850,000 square feet of warehouse, that's just huge. That will be like one building, or is that divided
There'll
into?
be 2 buildings. Well, they'll
Okay.
have outbuildings for their maintenance. They'll have buildings for storage. They'll have building there that has the freezer, and then the cooler so that the food can be kept fresh.
Okay.
But they are the largest, and just a stock tip for the viewers out there, they're growing at a rate of about 10% a year, and they're on the exchange. So if you want a good investment, their growth for the next 10 years shows about a 10% a year growth, because everybody's going to organic products.
Okay.
So if you got a little extra money, invest in UNFI stock. I don't have any, but I'm sure thinking about it.
There might be somebody who does.
Right.
Great, that good stock tip. That probably wasn't an insider stock tip, but it's a good stock tip
Yeah.
for Dawn. Okay.
Not insider.
Not insider.
I just know from them telling us about their growth process. So.
Right. Okay, and then that does actually finish up all my questions, but just in case now, did I forget any other
I
questions?
think we're
Anything
okay. I
else you
just want to
do?
reiterate, they're going to create about 450 jobs, and there'll be jobs with better pay, and it's going to lead to a lot of opportunities for the city for other distribution companies to come in to kind of, like with the Lowe's and the Costco and all these different companies that come in when they get an anchor.
Yeah.
outlets. When the outlets came, Costco came,
Yeah.
Lowe's came, Walmart came. We're looking forward to the same thing because with the amount of distribution that they do, they're going to need help. They're going to need boxes. They're going to need containers. They're going to need all kinds of stuff. And it's cheaper for them to locate near the business that's using them rather than have them shipped in.
Yeah.
So from the environmental point of view, it's great. For the company, it's great because they're close to the Central Valley and they're close to the coast, and they're close to San Francisco, so it's going to work out all the way around.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, well, we're excited about that. Thanks for
I am
updating
too.
us on that. Yeah. Okay, now it does bring us to our break time, and we're going to watch a couple of these messages, and then we're going to come right back, and we have a whole new topic, but I think you're going to like this topic too, so stay tuned.
If you have heart disease, be smart and protect yourself from air pollution. Air pollution can trigger heart attacks, strokes, and make existing heart conditions worse. Check the daily air quality forecast, which is color-coded. Code orange or higher can be harmful to your heart. So on these days, reschedule outdoor activities or work out indoors and exercise away from busy roads. Be smart. Protect your heart. Learn more at epa.gov/healthyheart.
Today, Governor Brown signed a proclamation declaring a drought state of emergency for California due to the record low rainfall and the dry conditions. That proclamation allowing CAL FIRE to begin the process of hiring over 125 seasonal firefighters to staff fire equipment in Northern California. Here at Folsom Lake outside Sacramento, where we're standing, this would all typically be underwater. This year, though, it's barren dirt. As we move up the hillside, the grass would typically be green. This year, though, it's tinder dry and ready to burn. It's extremely important to remember as we're prepared for fires this winter, you need to be prepared as well.
Welcome back. We are glad that you joined us for our second segment today of Ask the Mayor with Mayor Don Gage of the City of Gilroy. We are going to change the subject now. We had gotten the council update, but now we're going to get a little more specific topic. We're going to talk about medical marijuana and then the issue in Gilroy that has come up about that the city has an attitude that isn't welcoming to medical marijuana dispensaries. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today and get an update from Dawn on the city's position on that. We have gone out to the public and asked the public offered the public an opportunity to ask us questions so that we could ask the mayor. And the first question we're going to address today is from Stephen. He was out at Gavilan College, and he asked this question. So, Dawn, here it is. Stephen says, what are the reasons the city is against medical marijuana dispensaries and the business of dispensing?
I think the main reason for that is the fact that the marijuana dispensaries attract criminal activity. And that's one of the reasons that MedLeaf got shut down, because of all the extracurricular activities that were occurring there. So we're very concerned about that because it takes resources, especially with police, to deal with that. And the law, at least a court case, said that each city could regulate whether or not they wanted a dispensary there. But mostly it's because of the criminal activity that surrounds that.
So in the case of the MedLeaf and the criminal activity, do you mean like in the parking lot there were other illegal activities going on?
Well, not only there, but in the stores they were selling marijuana to people who really shouldn't have the ability to buy it at the dispensary.
So in fact it was inside the store, the
inside,
problems.
outside, all around.
Okay.
There was dealing going on and all kinds of stuff. It's kind of an attractor. It's like, when you have fireworks. We're the only city in Santa Clara County that allows safe and sane fireworks.
Uh-huh.
But what happens is because of the safe and sane, you get a lot of the illegal fireworks.
Right.
And that's what you don't want. And so we have firefighters off duty. We have police going out throughout the neighborhoods, 4th of July, plus the danger of fire. And it's similar to that. It's just the extracurricular activity that goes on is not conducive for the quality of life in Gilroy.
Okay.
And we, at this point in time, don't have any reason to change our ordinance as such.
So in other words, no reason in that the public isn't making a demand or an outcry to change or do anything about it then? Or?
I think that the outcry is coming mostly from the state and other states. There are a couple of states who have legalized marijuana, and they're finding now what's happening as a result of that, because you still have illegal buying and you still have all the things that are going on. Plus now you have to deal with people who abuse the marijuana, and it's not like catching a drunk driver where they can blow into something and you can tell whether they're intoxicated or not. They're causing, hurt to families and other people because they don't have the controls.
Okay. So, well, for instance, then let's just quickly look at that now. We go back to the fireworks. We allow fireworks. Is that because nonprofits are involved and we found a way to work around it, and we don't really want to do that
You
with?
hit the nail right on the head.
Okay.
The nonprofits make a tremendous amount of money. The average booth out there will make $10,000+ for a charitable thing. But every year the fire department asks us not to have safe and sane fireworks because of the damage it causes from all the other things, including safe and sane. Where there's fire, there are people injured when they're using them, and we're the only city in Santa Clara County that allows them. So guess what? Everybody comes down here to buy them,
right,
and then go shoot them off.
Right. The other thing that the fireworks is it is a limited number of days a year.
It is. This is year-round.
Medical marijuana is year-round,
right.
So it does present that problem. Okay, well, I do sort of understand. It does seem like with some work, though, if the city wanted to, they could find ways to do it. They're just not particularly interested in finding those ways at this point, because the illegal is going to go on whether the legal is around or not. So that's still going on, right? Yeah, okay. Well, we do have another question, and this is another question from the public, and it is, if the city lifts a moratorium on dispensaries, what can the city do to assure marijuana is used only for medical reasons?
Well, I said it once before already, we don't have plans to modify the ordinance. But the state of California law, they did a very poor job in defining the cases for marijuana use and non-use. And there's a big distinction between the two. And, the statistics show that leads to other drug usage. Which is something that we don't want. So the court has upheld our right not to have a dispensary, and we are serious about asking the state of California to clear up their laws. There's, people that use it for home use are only supposed to have 6 plants, but the law is so broad that if they had 100 plants, the district attorney won't even prosecute. And if you have 100 plants and it's for personal use, there's no way that you could ever use that much marijuana. So what ends up happening, they sell it. And that is definitely a criminal activity. You cannot, if you hold a card, you can have use. But if you have more than that in your possession at any one time, you will get cited for that. And that's federal law. The state and the federal don't agree. The state will say it's okay, the law will say it isn't. So it's a matter of enforcement, which requires more from the city to be able to provide police, undercover operations, etc., to deal with that. So it's more than the capacity of our city. It isn't worth it to us to do that.
Okay, so there isn't then probably the economic impact that makes it worth the changes that have to be made in law enforcement, then, you don't think, huh? Okay, all right. Well, now let's see. Brandon at Gilroy High School asked, does the Gilroy Police Department currently issue citations to marijuana users with medical cards?
We do not.
Okay.
If you have a medical card, you do not get cited. If you are abusing the law where you are carrying too much, which it then is assumed that it's for sale, you will get cited. So we don't just go up and say, here, if they have a card and they have possession of what the law states is legal for them to have, we don't cite them.
Okay. And so then it doesn't change the fact that someone who's driving recklessly while under the influence of marijuana is still going to be cited for driving recklessly,
Yes.
right? That doesn't change
It's just
it.
harder to prove because they don't have tests that they can do field sobriety tests with it, other than somebody, kind of out of it, but they could have a medical problem. So it's not like taking a
Yeah.
blood analyzer test, and that endangers the public.
Yeah.
And it endangers the individuals that are doing it, and it just causes a lot of hurt to families.
Yeah.
And that's not something that we really want to promote in our community.
Right. And I guess then the hurt to families and things does go back to the legal alcohol consumption and things. That is long-term proven for
Same thing. I mean,
society, negative society impacts,
Yeah.
and yet we found a way to deal with that.
Well, we don't necessarily deal with it, but the problem is there has been so much publicity on the negatives of driving and drinking, and we on generally a monthly basis have a DUI checkpoint, and we still catch people. We advertise it in the paper and say the checkpoint's going to be at this street during these hours, and people still go into it. So it is a problem that, it's something that people can do. You can go, as long as you're 21, you can buy alcohol, you can drink alcohol, but it's the abuse, and that's what occurs with medical marijuana. I mean, if somebody really has a need for it, fine, they need to have it, but the law provides for that, and and if they can't afford to do it, the county and possibly the state will give them money or access to that. We're not trying to deny people who have a legitimate use, but along with that legitimate use comes a lot of law breaking. So I'll say it that way.
Okay, good. And then another question, this next question, give us an estimate on how much money the city would gain or lose if there were legal dispensaries in the city of Gilroy conducting business.
We have never really checked that because with the med leaf, it was more the criminal activity. We know that it was very costly, all the investigation. You just don't go in and it's a one-time thing. You have to investigate, you have to do send people in there to buy, and on and on and on. So since we have an ordinance that doesn't allow them, we don't even check. It's not, I mean, to me, I have a problem if you're going to allow something to happen, use it, that's negative to the community, and use it as a moneymaker. I mean, that to me doesn't make sense.
Right. Well, okay, but if we were going to even slightly measure it, there isn't a special marijuana tax or something that comes.
No.
It's simply sales tax, right?
That's correct.
It's sales tax.
Right. They pay to buying it. There's a sales tax which we only get 1%.
1% of.
And as far as having to manage that, it costs a lot more for additional police, for the drug and alcohol task force to come down to do the stings and all these other things, and they're months long. It's not just one time. You have to build your case, and you have to go in and prove that they are actually violating the law. Otherwise, your case is not going to hold up in court.
Right.
So it's very expensive to do that.
If you did that, but not every business, you don't monitor every business like that. You wait until there are complaints on
Most of
many
it's complaint
businesses.
driven,
Yeah, okay.
and you get complaints, especially now with people growing their own marijuana.
Okay.
They will grow it in their backyard. If they have a card, the law is very sketchy. Is it 6 plants or 100 plants? And it's the neighbors complain because when they harvest it, it has a very terrible odor. It's like skunks, and as they process it. Plus, a lot of them, use up a lot of energy because if they don't do it outside, they do it inside. They have to have lights going all the time to grow the plants. So there's a lot of negatives to it.
In fact, required for marijuana growing, you don't have to have lights. It's just that they increase their production and their cycles with more lights and more.
They're not dealing with weather changes and things like that.
Okay.
The harvest is terrible because I know that there are some that's going on, and the neighbors complain, and because the law is so sketchy, the DA won't prosecute, so there's no good in arresting them. It's generally for other things. It's generally for sale.
Right.
They usually, they're try to intimidate so the neighbors won't complain, and it's becoming a serious problem here.
Right. But let's point out too that then marijuana, although it does have an odor, a negative odor at harvest time, it doesn't have a negative byproduct, unlike meth labs or something
That's
like
true.
that. There's not that
Other
kind
than
of
the
chemical
usage
impact.
of energy
Okay.
and during that process.
Yeah, okay, fine. Great. Okay. And then let's see, our last question from the public is from Dana, who's from the city of Gilroy. And she says, what is the city doing to ensure qualified patients have access to medical marijuana?
Well, first off, we are not in any position to dispense any medication. That's not within our jurisdiction, and we don't do it, and we can't do it. We're not a doctor, can't give prescriptions or anything like that. So it's beyond our scope and capacity in order for us to do that. So we really don't do that. However, if somebody really needs it, there are places they can go to the county, they can go to the state and get permission and get product where they need it for medical uses.
Okay, but this isn't the same as, say, for instance, the city of Gilroy being even more than interested in Action Zone to assure there's a hospital in our area. You're interested in that business being here and interested in seeing what the city can do about that. But in the case of this marijuana access, that isn't the same attitude then, right?
Well, we can't even assure that a hospital be here.
Okay.
You know that our St. Louis hospital is up for sale, and there's a lot
Right.
of concern about that, because if the hospital doesn't sell and they shut down, people will have to go to San Jose, to Salinas, to Hollister, wherever there is facilities. We don't control that. We can't control it. That's entirely up. It's a private industry, and it's the same with marijuana. We can't control any of that. We don't have the ability to, see whether or not a person actually should have it, or somebody just signed off on a card saying they should be able to get it. We can't do that.
Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. And that does finish my questions. Did you remember any more that you had come up that you'd like to address now?
I think you covered most of them.
Okay.
I can't think of anything right off the top of my head.
In general, though, at the city council chambers and the city staff and the police department, there is a strong attitude against any kind of marijuana-related business in Gilroy in general. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it is because of the professional part of it. In other words, the police object to it because they're understaffed. People complain that there are violators of traffic violation. How come we don't have a police officer on our corner? The staff has to go through all the review and do all the legwork on that. We're understaffed for there because we're not in that business. And if we were, we would probably have to hire a great many more people, and it wouldn't be worth it. That's the attitude of the city. It's a burden to do that because we're just understaffed. There's no way that we could do it.
Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. Well, thank you for helping us understand that whole marijuana issue for the city of Gilroy.
It's a very complicated issue because the laws are so general that it's hard to nail things down. And like I say, the DA won't even prosecute cases unless it's for sale and distribution illegal. Then they'll do it. But for the growing part of it and the card use, they won't even take those cases. So in order for us to get involved, it has to be, a police officer has to catch somebody, and the laws are just they're. For example, if you said that there's a neighbor next door growing a whole lot of marijuana plants, and so you call the police and they come over there, if they can't see over the top of the fence, they can't get a ladder and look into the other person's yard because that's considered a privacy act. So there's a lot of limitations in what the officers can do, and it has to be blatant on what they're doing. I mean, people will call and say, this one house, they're growing marijuana in the back. There's people coming in and out of it all day, the hours of the night. Well, you know, if they're growing 100 plants, they're probably selling. And if they're selling, even if a person has a card, they shouldn't be selling. Personal use means for your own use, not for selling to other people, even if they have cards. If you have a card, you can get it at any authorized place that sells it. There's none in Gilroy, and I gave you the reasons why we don't want it, but you can get it. And but it's the selling of it, the distribution of it, the overuse of it or abuse of it, and the fact that it leads to other, you know, you start off in marijuana, then you're in methamphetamines, and then you're into heroin, then you're into cocaine, and it just grows and grows and grows because people want to get high, I guess. I don't know. I mean, that's not something that I choose to do. I got better things to do with my time and my body.
Okay, good. All right, well, that does complete our segment 2, the marijuana topic in the city of Gilroy. We're going to take a quick break for a couple more messages, and then we're going to come back with our wrap-up question. We have one last wrap-up question we're going to ask the mayor, so stay tuned.
Chamberlain's Children's Center, a nonprofit residential program for foster youth, will be hosting our 5th annual Mari's Fun Day Barbecue fundraiser on May 17th from 12 to 3 p.m. in Hollister. The barbecue lunch, provided by Hollister Rotary, will be served at 12:30 p.m. In addition to the auction, there will be a raffle, children's activities, and live entertainment, including Hawaiian dancers. Come out and join us for some fun while we raise money to support the children in our care. This year, we encourage you to donate online on May 6th at the website on your screen. Call or visit our website for costs and more information.
Our veterans put everything on the line to protect our freedom. We may never be able to repay them for their sacrifice, but we can show them just how much we appreciate all they've done. Every day, hundreds of people just like you volunteer to help our veterans. You can help by simply sharing your time, lending a warm smile, a supportive hand, or a sympathetic ear to someone who needs it. Everyone can do something to make our veterans know how much we appreciate their service. What will you do?
Usually it ruins the cherries, but this year all the cherries are picked around here because it was a light crop.
Yeah.
They're all done.
Because All right, welcome back for our wrap-up last question with Mayor Don Gage this month. We've been talking about marijuana and marijuana dispensaries in Gilroy. And so our last question, more personal nature, Don, is we want to ask you, what's your personal stance on marijuana use, both recreationally and medically?
I don't have any problem at all with medical use as long as it's within the law. I do have a problem with recreational use because it leads to destruction of family and lives. It's an altering drug, so kids that are on it don't think and act the way they should. It causes a lot of harm in the community when there are accidents as a result of someone being under the influence. It causes the city to spend money on areas that we have better use for, like fixing our streets and sidewalks and taking care of people when they call for on emergency situations rather than dealing with that. I've known people who have had to take marijuana with cancer problems, that's the only way they could get relief, and by any means I would never deny them from doing that. And there are places that they can get the relief and help for that. It's all the criminal activity that goes around that. And you know, the first thing that people ask when they come to this community and want to live here, they actually ask 3 questions. First, they ask, is the community safe? They ask if the schools are good, and the third thing they ask for is if there's quality recreation programs for the kids to use. And if you don't give them the right answer on all 3 of those, they choose not to live here. And it's a quality of life issue as far as I'm concerned. If somebody needs to use it or somebody is using it in their own home, fine. But when you move out into the public and you endanger other people, or somebody gets on marijuana, then they want something a little more heavy, so then they go to heroin or some of those drugs, then they go to methamphetamines where they get hooked. We spend millions of dollars trying to help people recover from those things, and that money can all be used to help the homeless, to feed the folks that are poor, to find housing or build housing for them, and yet we're wasting it on a drug that really should not be legalized. And some of the states, like Colorado, for example, are having second thoughts about them legalizing the drugs because of the problems that they're having with the marijuana now, and what it costs them to manage that, and it far outweighs whatever revenue you get from that. So personally, I don't, as a recreational drug, I don't use it, I don't want to use it, but as long as it's medical need, I have no problem, because people do need help.
All right. That's the last word from our mayor this month on the marijuana issue then. We want to thank you all for tuning into this program. The mayor gives us generously every time we ask about talking about these topics and these issues. And we really always appreciate that. CMAP is a nonprofit public access television station. So we hope that you benefit from it, and our viewers that will always be interested in it. If you have issues or topics that you'd like us to discuss with the mayor, we hope that you'll contact CMAP through our cmap.tv website or telephone call, and let us know what you'd like the mayor to talk about and to bring us up to date on and to give us the city view on. Be sure and contact us, whatever your topic is, we're interested. I'm Susan Murphy-Patereau, and I'm going to sign off now. Thank you again, Don.
Thank you,
we
Susan,
appreciate
for a
it.
great job, and thanks, CMAP.